I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Do me a favor, would you? On that mouse, go up to where it says time. Nope, right here. Click that. There you go.
Get that. The actual time.
Yeah, it says, yep.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenhoff coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us. You can call. You can text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that used to be Twitter. Coming up next hour, Jim Santelle, our colleague here at Civic Media, also a former, he is still a lawyer.
Yeah, but he's former U.S.
Prosecutor.
No, forgetting the words. Welcome to Thursday, everybody.
Yes.
Just a U.S. attorney.
A U.S. attorney, yes, former U.S. attorney. He also hosts Amicus, a law review across Civic Media on Saturdays from 9 to 11. He's a very, very smart man. I encourage you to stick around for that. 11:33, as he does every other Thursday. Journal Sentinel Sports Guru J.R. Radcliffe will be here to talk all things sports. And we will wrap it up today at 11:51 with This Shouldn't Be a Thing, Cindy Lou Who edition.
This one's kind of weird.
This is courtesy of a listener who tagged me on Blue Sky with this story, early winter.
Are you on Blue Sky, Jane?
I am on Blue Sky.
Just your name?
It's my name.
Wonderful.
Jane Matenaer. It's not hard to find.
Love it, love it, love it.
Check it out.
Follow her.
Lots of people checking out Blue Sky.
Yes.
In just the last week.
Just waiting for all the idiots to come over and be like, we're here. We brought nachos. They're stale.
We're going to start off, though, with breaking news right before we came on the air. Everybody thought it was a joke, right? In the first 10 minutes. It's like, is this real?
No, it's completely real.
It's completely real. CNN reporting The Onion has won the bid for InfoWars assets.
Now, for those who don't know what The Onion is a very famous satirical newspaper, website, media company, started here in Madison decades ago, made their way to New York, has had some changes. In the past few years, they've sold the original group that owned, or the group that owned it recently, sold it to a conglomerate, if you will, of comedians.
Oh, that's great.
So now it's actually owned by artists again. And this, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this. This makes me so happy, and the internet is showing their support too.
Oh, absolutely. So again, the InfoWars was owned by Alex Jones, the famous conspiracy theorist who essentially tortured the families of the Sandy Hook victims for decades and encouraged his followers to dox them and follow them and tell them that their child never died in that mass shooting. And he made their lives hell for more than a decade.
And then the swift hammer of justice came in and said, hey, Alex, guess what?
Yep. So InfoWars got sold off as part of a defamation settlement after Jones falsely claimed the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre was a hoax. The bid by The Onion was backed by families of 8 of the victims of that mass shooting and 1 first responder. It also will have an exclusive advertising deal with the gun control group Everytown for Gun Safety. Jones was previously ordered to pay $1.5 billion to the families of the Sandy Hook victims. He, like so many others, hello, Rudy Giuliani, has been dragging his feet on paying back that part of the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Even as court records show, Alex Jones continues to spend tens of thousands of dollars a month.
Yep. And he had a recent video where apparently they were coming to seize his assets. And he's like, they're getting things right now. They're taking things right now.
Well, that's what they do when you have to surrender assets.
When you lie about the money you have, he always would say he's broke. That was his whole thing. We can only keep this show going for a little bit longer. I need your money. Buy my $200 supplement that will do nothing for your body. It's got camouflage on it. So why won't you buy it, you patriot? But yeah, this is a fitting end. Honestly, I don't even know if I wanted to see him go to jail. This is what I wanted to see happen.
Yeah, it's pretty. It feels like justice.
Yep. So here comes The Onion.
It feels like the Onion of all things. Everything from the platform's studio equipment. They're located in Austin, Texas.
Of course they are.
Online dietary supplement store, an armored truck, InfoWars social media accounts, and even a Winnebago motorhome was up for sale to the highest bidder. The amount of the bid has not been announced.
This is my favorite quote. The Onion is proud to acquire InfoWars, and we look forward to continuing its storied tradition of scaring the site users with lies until they fork over their cold, hard cash, said The Onion CEO Ben Collins, or Bitcoin. We will also accept Bitcoin.
Yeah, we'll take Bitcoin.
And I'm going to link this story from CNN. I'm also going to link their Onion response from the website. That is satirical.
Yes.
But the CNN article is real, but you'll see both of those in the show notes today. This literally brought me, I feel a little lighter today. Because of something like this, because groups like this, comics, artists do things like this all the time. They fight for justice in their own way. And the fact they're working with the families, that's so wonderful.
If you go to the Onion front page, it's theonion.com.
Yeah.
And their CEO, again, this is satirical, is Byron B.P. Tetrader. Celebrate a new addition to the global tetrahedron family of brands. And let me say, I really do see it as a family. Much like family members, our brands are abstract nodes of wealth. Interchangeable assets for the patriarchy to absorb and discard according to the opaque whims of the markets. And just like family members, our brands regard one another with mutual suspicion and malice.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, this article that they wrote for the Onion is pure satirical gold.
It's golden.
It's absolutely wonderful. I just love, because one of the things they got was his supplements.
Right.
They said, this is Bryce Tetrader. I can't pronounce that. Tetrader. As for the vitamins and supplements, we are halting their sales immediately. The utilitarian logic dictates that if we can extend even one CEO's life by 10 minutes, diluting these miracle elixirs for public consumption is an unethical waste.
Also from the fake CEO, Mr. Bryce there. InfoWars has shown an unswerving commitment to manufacturing anger and radicalizing the most vulnerable members of society, values that resonate deeply with all of us at Global Tetrahedron. No price is too high for such a cornucopia of malleable assets and minds. And in a stroke of good fortune, a special interest group has outwitted the hapless owner of InfoWars, a forgettable man with an already forgotten name, and forced him to sell it at a steep bargain, less than $1 trillion.
Oh, then.
This is a coup for our company and a well-deserved victory for multinational elites from around the world.
Good job, The Onion.
Seriously.
That is,
this is incredible news.
When I saw the story come to my phone, I went, oh, And then I kept looking to make sure that it was real, looking that, okay, it's CNN, it's not CNN, theonion.com, or something like that. But yeah, they came in, swooped in, and thank you, The Onion. Wisconsin proud.
Yes.
Doing the good work and making us laugh at the same time.
Absolutely. I would highly encourage you to subscribe to The Onion. They're back in a print.
You can get 12 issues a year in print. It's $99. You get access to the entire. By the way, I'm not paid by them. I just
working for
all this stuff. But I remember when I was a kid getting that paper, reading stories I probably shouldn't have been reading. But it's a great thing. Yeah. If you can, and you're supporting artists too.
Yes.
That's the important thing. You're no longer supporting like a corporate conglomerate. These are artists who got together and reacquired The Onion.
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
Because it really went downhill when that other group bought them.
Yes.
Again, they're not comics.
They're not comics. And it was all about the bottom line. And I had friends who worked for The Onion in those days, and it was just diminishing pay, diminishing recognition. It wasn't good. And now it's come back.
It's back to itself.
Back, baby.
In order to make the bid work, the Sandy Hook families, again, that partnered up with The Onion, they agreed to forego a portion of their recovery money in order to increase the overall value of The Onion's bid, enabling its success. The family said in a statement, after surviving unimaginable loss with courage and integrity, they rejected Jones's hollow offers for allegedly more money if they'd only let him stay on the air, because doing so would have put families in harm's way.
Yes. And that's the other thing too. Sandy Hook families, that incident that happened
in 2012,
those are the most famous victims of his rhetoric. But he has just a long history of sowing doubt and disbelief, and he turned it into a marketable asset, this doubting and the idea of crisis actors,
right,
at various
false flags,
crisis actors, to the point where people just now out of just like, well, that's not real, like they don't even think about it. There's like, that's not real,
right? Yeah.
And so his tide of despair hits a lot of people. So
again, if you have forgotten about the Sandy Hook mass shooting in 2012, 26 people were killed, 20 kids, ages 6 and 7. They were babies.
Yes.
Were murdered along with 6 adults. It was a horrible, horrible tragedy. And again, Alex Jones jumped on that, said it was a hoax, said they were false flags, said they were crisis actors, and tortured these families for more than a decade.
Yeah. Yep. And
this couldn't be, well, what could be better is if they had their kids back, obviously. But this is a pretty sweet end, hopefully, to Alex Jones.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can imagine some news corporation touching him because he's got a name and still probably has followers, and
he'll land someplace else.
But he's not the best at following rules. He wants to do things his way, and I just don't know how much it's worth it. And what's the risk of hiring Alex Jones as a contributor?
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
He can partner up with Joe Rogan. They'll be perfect
there
together.
There you go.
Right?
Oh, God. Those podcasts will be 7 hours long.
They're perfect for each other.
Yeah.
Robbie Parker, whose daughter Emily was killed in the shooting, said the world needs to see that having a platform does not mean you are above accountability. The dissolution of Alex Jones's asset in the death of InfoWars is justice we have long awaited and fought for.
Excellent. Thank you, The Onion. Thank you, the family.
Yes.
I hope their hearts can sleep a little quieter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you would like to comment on this, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on a live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We'll be right back. Stay here. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Just don't know what else to do about it. I walk down this old lonely street, and no one seems to want to speak. Oh, who cares? Yes, who cares for me?
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Sweet Cal B coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text. The number is the same at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Putz de Leon continues to actively ruin. If you're just joining us, this news broke just as we were coming on the air this morning. This is good news. Satirical news site The Onion has won the auction to buy conspiracy theorist Alex Jones's InfoWars, which had to be sold off as part of the defamation settlement after he falsely called the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre, in which 26 people were killed, 6 adults, 20 children, 6 and 7-year-olds. He said it was a hoax.
Yep.
And tortured those families. They had people showing up at their homes. Asking them, why are you lying? You don't have a child.
There was merch made for these types of things.
It was
all for him to make money. And I keep on looking at our phone lines, waiting for someone to call me and like, well, you don't understand. Because I don't, here's what I don't get. I get someone who can go to bed at night, wake up the next morning and be like, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. I can get into the weird logic that is that brain. What I can't understand is someone who wakes up and says, that mass shooting didn't happen. Those children aren't real. That guy is right. Everyone else is wrong. And those people, parents, quote unquote, they're just crisis actors. And how dare they? And all of a sudden to try to take our guns, because it's always about trying to promote legislation that's going to take our guns.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you know this, folks. Still can get guns in this country. Still, guns are safe.
Yeah.
Guns are safer than kids are.
Very much so.
So, I just don't understand how someone can, because I met one person who did, and I wanted to bring it up, but I also didn't have the time. But just to be in that headspace of like, yeah, that was fake. Of course that was fake.
I don't know how you even get there. But I mean, he'd been on the air for a long time before that, so isn't it kind of just teaching people?
Yeah, you slowly,
right? You slowly indoctrinate them and pull them in, and so that they doubt everything. But except for you.
But what do you do when your leader says, "No, I wasn't. That's not true," and you have to admit it happened? Where are you left? You're left with a choice, and what's that choice going to be?
PJ on the live stream. Alex Jones is an embarrassment to Gen X, Andrew in Maine, and to planet Earth. Tony Zimmerman on the live stream. This is just the best news. We agree, Andrew. Well, they rename it the garlic. I like that. That's got potential. That's got potential. And Andrew, also, I hear the Trump administration is looking for a press secretary if Mr. Jones is looking for work. And also Dave from New Berlin texted that in. I think Alex Jones as White House press secretary under Donald Trump is something that just works.
Honestly, if you've never seen it, when Alex Jones gets frustrated, whether it's in front of people or just behind his desk because the frogs are turning gay because of fluoride, it's amazing to watch because he just gets redder and redder
and louder and angrier.
Sweatier. So I would love nothing more to see that hulking tiny frame of his behind the White House podium having to take questions from the White House press corps
and watch him meltdown.
Just meltdown after meltdown after meltdown. That's the other thing too, Jane. Remember during the first Trump administration, I know this is weird to say, but like there were just no press briefings.
They stopped. Yeah, good heavens, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I don't think had one for months.
Yeah,
months.
That's where we're going to be again. But not if they choose Alex Jones. He loves to be seen and he loves to talk.
He does that. Alex says he will keep broadcasting on new platforms and new social media accounts. The Onion says it will have the website transition to its new content by January of 2025. And again, they are doing this in conjunction with Everytown for Gun Safety, which was formed after this shooting.
Yep. Yeah. I'm interested to see how the Onion will somehow satirize InfoWars into merch that will probably be charity.
Yes.
Like I closed InfoWars. If you know Milwaukee, you know the I Close Wolski's.
That's a great idea.
Hey, the Onion, you can have that one for actually, I'll take a t-shirt and a subscription to your paper. I closed InfoWars.
Subscribe to the Onion.
There you go.
It will make you laugh. What are some of the sample stories that are on there today?
Oh, good
Do you
Lord.
have that up?
Yeah, I do. Let's see here. Taylor Swift arrested on weapons charge after federal agents raid tour bus. Man forgetting difference between meteoroid and meteorite, struggling to describe what just killed his dog. And Trump boys have slap fight over who gets to run foreign policy meetings with a graphic.
Check out The Onion.
Yes, please.
TheOnion.com. We will put that in the show notes. Excuse me. And as well as the article from CNN, which is, I think they were the first ones to break it.
Yeah, that's what came across my phone like about an hour and a half ago. And I posted it in our company chat, and now it's all over social media.
But you do have to wonder how long. Okay, so the InfoWars part is done.
Yeah.
But as far as surrendering his other assets, because Rudy Giuliani still hasn't. I mean, how long can they put that stuff off?
Well, I mean, if it's what he said was happening, they're just going to come take it. And maybe Rudy has more pull because he was an attorney and a mayor, and he's like, just please, can you not do this to me right now? And maybe Donald Trump will give me something in the second administration. He won't.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, Rudes.
So I think it's going to be either a as honorable of a moment for him to just say, like, here you go, or it's going to be knocking on the door and saying, we're here for your stuff, dude.
And you have to go. He's got to vacate his apartment, his condo in New York.
That man on paper with all his resume should be one of the richest guys on the East Coast. Dead broke. And because he threw his hat into that ring, and
he's disgraced now.
No, completely. He can't practice law in New York and DC. Like
he was America's mayor.
Yeah.
After 9/11, he was beloved.
Yeah. I think it's what's going to happen. They're going to come knocking on his door, and they're just going to take the stuff. Maybe the Onion will buy his belongings too.
Well, I understand he's got a pretty nice Mercedes that he's got to give up to Ruby and Shay.
Oh, really?
They won their lawsuit.
Oh, okay.
Because he defamed them, so that's where his assets are going.
Oh man,
which is a good thing.
You fart around, you find out.
News is coming up next when we return. Gates and Hegseth and Tulsi. Oh my. All the details on the way. Stay with us. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Well, surely happiness can be found. Surely there's someone for me. Must I go through life with this hopeless love? Oh, why can't I be set free? All I want is you. All I know is you. But somehow I love just can't be. Oh, who cares? Yes, who cares for me?
but mostly lions and tigers and bears.
Lions?
And tigers and bears.
Oh, lions, tigers, and bears? Oh my, lions, tigers, and bears.
Good
Oh,
morning.
my.
Welcome back. Nice one, Calvin. To Matenaer On Air, Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and the Calvinator on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine, Wisconsin. You can always join us. Call or text 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. And you can call and text directly from the Civic Media app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you should go to your app store and look for Civic Media. Download the Civic Media app. You can call and text directly, as I said. You can also listen to all of our stations all across the state, and it's absolutely free. So
That's pretty cool.
it is cool. Gates and Hegseth and Tulsi. Oh, my.
Oh, God.
We are learning more about President-elect Donald Trump's picks for his cabinet. All the best people, of course.
The best and the brightest.
Always the best people. He announced some big ones in just the last couple of days. He has suggested Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida as Attorney General, Fox News host and Army veteran Pete Hegseth as Defense Secretary, and former Hawaii Congressman Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. Each pick, this is from the Washington Post by the editorial board, presents the incoming Republican majority Senate with a major test of its ability to put the public interest ahead of party loyalty.
What?
Wow.
I don't.
Should we start with Mr. Gates?
Are you reading an Onion article right now?
I am not. This is from the Washington Post.
God.
This is from the Washington Post. Matt Gaetz has exhibited poor routine judgment and a willingness to throw the country into chaos. He dethroned Kevin McCarthy last year as Speaker of the House. His baggage could fill Justice Department headquarters. Now, he has been under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for allegations of sexual misconduct, illegal drug use, accepting improper gifts. He's also been investigated for sex trafficking. Now, the House Ethics Committee was supposed to release whether or not they were going to release their findings. That was supposed to happen tomorrow. He resigned yesterday. After Trump picked him as in this position, Gaetz has resigned now from the House, and now that ethics probe ends. There are calls from some Democrats, of course, that say, yeah, you need to release this stuff.
Yeah.
We need to see this.
Should have been released a while ago, if you ask me. This
Absolutely.
has been a story in the making for a couple of years, and this is bunk, as my dad would say, in a very FCC compliant way. This man is. He's scum. He is scum. And by the way, I hope he gets the job that he just quit the other one for. But this is another example of no consequences. And this isn't even like a trying to quid pro quo or something. This is trafficking. This is disgusting. This is the very thing that members of that party rail about in the halls of power all the time.
Yes.
You know, we have to protect the children.
Right.
We have to make sure they're safe. Do you know how many like sickos and weirdos are? Yeah, there's one inside your house.
If he's confirmed, Matt Gaetz will be the first attorney general to be investigated by the Justice Department for sex crimes. And this all grew out of a parallel investigation into a former good friend of Matt Gaetz's, Joel Greenberg. He was elected tax collector in Florida in 2016. He's in prison now. Greenberg.
Oh, I remember that guy. That was the guy who basically turned him in.
Yeah.
He was going to go to jail for more, and he's like, no, I got we got Venmo. I can show you Venmo stuff.
Gaetz met his previous girlfriend through Joel Greenberg, who was an avid drug user and frequently procured young women for sex through a dating site. And that's where Greenberg met the 17-year-old at the center of this whole sex trafficking case. Greenberg engaged in a wide array of crimes, including an attempt to frame a political rival as a pedophile. He subsequently was indicted 3 more times, including for fraud and identity theft. And after Matt Gaetz refused to help him get a federal pardon from Trump, And Greenberg tried to implicate Gates in the sex trafficking case, and that prompted the FBI to seize his cell phone in 2020. So this has been going on, like you said, for a long time.
All the best people.
All the best people. We have a clip, Calvin. Mark Wayne Mullen is another Republican in the House, and this is from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He had this to say about Matt Gaetz. Let's play that clip, please.
You got to think about this guy. This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. Ugh. This is obviously before he got married. And so when that accusation came out, no one defended him.
Because he was showing nudies on the floor of the House.
Yeah.
Videos.
Yep.
I remember when that story broke.
Yeah, that was a there's no reason why this information shouldn't be out for the public to know at this point. There's no, let me rephrase that. There's no logical, just reason.
No, especially if you're going to make him the head of that agency.
And by the way, Michaela on the text line brings up something very, very important to all those individuals who called us, who texted us, who messaged us and say, Project 2025 isn't really a thing. They're not going to do that. You're overreacting. It's hyperbole. You're freaking out for nothing. This is the beginning. Look at his cabinet picks.
Yep.
The cabinet picks do not reflect the best and the brightest, those who have the experience within the job post they are being suggested and eventually confirmed for. No, these are sycophants. These are yes men. These are loyalists, and they have no business being anywhere near these positions. You got a guy who's being investigated for being a pedophile
and sex trafficking,
and he gets to be
you want to make him AG.
This is Project 2025. It took us a week.
And from Chippewa Falls, this is like a school hiring the worst teachers to educate your kids. Absolutely. Let's see how many Republicans call in to defend these picks. I'd be interested.
Oh, I please, someone to try to defend him. I dare you. Andrew in Maine says, why do Floridians, well, he says Floridians, I'm going to be nicer, still elect this guy. He's in a deeply red district.
Yep, super. He's in the Panhandle.
And he comes from his daddy.
Yep.
Would you be surprised, folks, to know that Matt Gaetz has a father who has money, connections, and the ability to get his little boy out of trouble?
Yeah.
That's exactly why.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, his father sold a company in like 2004 for $500 million.
Yeah.
And then he ran for the state Senate. Daddy did.
Yeah.
And then I think when he retired, then it was like, here, son, take my seat.
I'm tired of this. It's another one of those things. I'm a rich guy and I want this, so I get this. And that extends to daddy's son, too, I guess.
Apparently so.
Fail your way to the top, folks. Kids, listen here right now. Don't go to school. Fail your way to the top. Hopefully your dad's a billionaire.
Fail up. You can always fail up. So that's Matt Gaetz.
Next chapter,
we move on to Pete Hegseth.
This one's especially...
Now, I applaud Mr. Hegseth. He's 44. He served for, 20 years?
Okay.
In the National Guard. He served honorably overseas. He was in Afghanistan. He was in Iraq. He's a weekend anchor on Fox News.
Fox and Friends.
Yes, Fox and Friends. Thank you. There's no news involved.
Yeah.
But you got to think about this. Pete Hegseth has never run a large company or organization of any kind.
Yeah.
Much less a group with an $842 billion budget like the Pentagon does.
But you know what he did do? He served in the military. And in the military, you do what you're told. And that's another person who supports Trump who will do what he is told. Simple.
Now, this is not necessarily germane to this topic.
Oh, bring it. But I want to hear it.
I think it's important that we get to know Pete a little bit better.
Get to know Pete.
Kevin, do we have that clip from Pete Hegseth talking about washing his hands?
I don't think I've washed my hands for 10 years. Really, I don't really wash my hands ever.
Help me!
No, I inoculate myself. It's just not, germs are not a real thing. I can't see them. Therefore, they're not real.
So you're becoming immune to all the
exactly.
bacteria.
I can't get sick.
You can't see germs. therefore they don't exist.
Don't worry. If he doesn't get defense secretary, his next shot is going to be surgeon general.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Could you hear the people around him? They're like, what? If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. What are you even talking about, sir? That's not a joke to me. You are going to be a major player in the president's cabinet, and that is what you think.
If you can't see it, it doesn't exist.
There's a lot of men who have that opinion on certain matters, but I won't get into that. I'm not a doctor nor a veterinarian, so.
Calvin?
Well, don't let the Christian right let you hear you say, if you can't see it, it doesn't exist.
True.
Like, it kind of seems like you can't hold both at the same time.
That's a really good point, Calvin.
They seem to always hold both. They to do whatever they want when it comes to these topics. So, yeah, Mr. Hegseth, awesome. You'll probably get confirmed too with overwhelming majority of the Senate.
Oh, and it's been interesting to see some of the Republicans rolling over already.
Yes.
Because Donald Trump wants them to go into recess so he can just appoint these people and they don't have to go through the regular process like normal candidates would.
Which the Supreme Court has advised not to do. But who cares? The Supreme Court, they're adorable.
Aren't they cute?
Yeah, it's... Got one more? Got one more for us?
And we got Tulsi.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah. Tulsi is widely considered a Russian asset. He wants to put her in charge of national security.
I think national intelligence.
National intelligence, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right after Russia invaded Ukraine, this is what Tulsi Gabbard posted. This war and suffering could have easily been avoided if Biden administration and NATO had just acknowledged Russia's legitimate security concerns regarding Ukraine becoming a member of NATO, meaning U.S. NATO forces would be right on Russia's border. So she seems to kind of be siding with the Russians on this.
So let me get this straight. She believes that Russia has security concerns.
Valid security concerns.
I'm sorry, you're right. I apologize. Valid security concerns over Ukraine joining NATO, that multicultural, multi-country group that helps protect and enshrine freedom around the globe. Because they think they own Ukraine.
Right.
It goes back to my point, Jane, that I've been saying for probably over a year now. Anyone who opposes Ukraine fighting for their freedom in this country, I don't understand you, because that's usually what you're talking about all the time. We need freedom, 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 freedom.
We used to fight for freedom around the world. We used to support democracies around the world.
We were never divided on the concept of freedom for countries wanting to be a sovereign nation and live their lives, which they had already been doing, by the way. This was not like they were breaking away from Russia and help us. They were like, we're just sitting here living our lives, and here comes Vladimir Putin, and there's a healthy part of the country is like, no. Ukraine should just give up.
And let them, because they want to wipe them off the face of the planet.
Yeah, and anytime someone says end the war between Ukraine and Russia, it is not ending the war. It is Ukraine falling to Russia, whether it's by laying down their guns or laying down their lives. They don't care about freedom when they talk about this topic. They are hypocrites.
We're going to keep abreast of all the best people appointments and suggestions and keep you up to date on that. When we return, it's the Office of Government Efficiency. More details coming up.
Oh, God.
I'm bordering on a snort. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay with us.
This place needs me here to start. This place is the beat of my heart. Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calviente on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that used to be Twitter. An hour from now, we will wrap up the show with This Shouldn't Be a Thing, the Cindy Lou Who edition. Thank you to follower Early Winter, found me on Blue Sky and tagged me with that. And you can find me on Blue Sky. You can find Greg on Blue Sky.
I am Greg Bach on Blue Sky.
That's it. I am Greg Bach, and I just used my name. That's just what I used.
I can't find Greg Bach was taken on Twitter, so I just did that. So now all social media you find me, it's I am Greg Bach.
He owns it on all the socials.
I bought it from Alex Jones.
He's looking to make some sales. Okay, we're talking about all the best people being kicked around for the second Trump administration. This headline from CNN: Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will lead the new Department of Government Efficiency, otherwise called DOGE.
Gross.
In a next Trump administration. What kills me is that they have to have two people to run the Office of Government Efficiency.
No, bro, I'm more efficient.
Wouldn't one, if you're being efficient, one person who knows what they're doing should be enough.
Yes. Or I would say no people are needed for this, because this isn't government efficiency. This will be the gutting
of the government.
Essentially,
yes.
Yeah. It's going to be like this. I feel like this is an extra sprinkle on Project 2025. It's not just firing all these people. It's going to be gutting these jobs out permanently.
Yep.
And they're going to try to do what they've always done, which is make federal government as small as possible.
Yeah, drown it in a bathtub, right?
Ugh. Oh, yeah.
Trump had proposed the creation of a Government Efficiency Commission as a part of a slate of economic plans that he unveiled in September. Trump said Tuesday night, Musk saying, quote, "This will send shockwaves through the system. Anyone involved in government waste, that's a lot of people."
Yeah. I think that when it comes to something like efficiency, I just want to bring up a fact. This is a story that came out this week. When you want to talk about efficiency and running something smoothly. Tesla has recalled 2,431 Cybertrucks in the U.S. and to potential loss of drive power, marking the sixth recall this year. Tesla, if you don't know, owned by Jabba the Musk, Putz de Leon, the apartheid prince. He is the owner of that, the CEO. What does it say to me when the guy who wants a job making everything efficient can't even make a car that can go a few months without having to be brought back into the shop to be fixed because it is a narcissist nightmare machine? So I'm just going to say that about him. That's what I think.
And from Chippewa Falls texting in, I would be nervous to accept a position I'm not qualified for. I'm an educator and I wouldn't accept a superintendent's job. I would be scared to do a job I was not qualified for. I agree with you, Ann, but that just means you have integrity.
Yeah, no way does anyone run into the Trumposphere, thinking, I'm not qualified, I can't do it. They're like, no, I can do it better than everyone.
I absolutely. If nothing, these folks are full of self-confidence.
Oh, I love the confidence. It's almost bordering on hubris and arrogance.
One could say hubris.
Calvin, did you have a thought on that?
Well, just a thought on the oddness and dangers of Elon Musk in that close to the presidency. It's something that appeared in the RNC platform. I think relatively close to the election was a line about a robust manufacturing industry in near-Earth orbit.
What does that even mean?
I don't know if putting factories in space is what I would call efficient.
Yeah, he's not qualified for this.
That's also not in America. You want American jobs, build them in America. You've been talking about rebuilding the manufacturing
base.
Build it in Utah or Nebraska. Don't send it to Alpha Centauri. This is stupidity. And now he gets to be not a heartbeat away from the president, but he definitely has the president on a speed dial.
It will be interesting to see, though, how long he lasts.
Yes,
because I've seen a lot of people speculating two narcissists don't necessarily get along for long.
No. And I think I said this to you. I think he's going to be the first one to go. And watch what happens after that. Because if he leaves with acrimony, he owns a social media platform.
And he has a bunch of government contracts, too.
And one of two things will happen. He'll either go quietly, which he won't.
Never.
Or he'll turn on him, and we'll see where his cadre of followers on Twitter takes it. Will they back Trump or will they back him? Will he become the first pariah in the second Trump presidency?
I'll have to put some bets down on this.
I will bet this thing. No, I won't bet it.
It's
not
precious. You
it's
can't
precious.
get rid of Jabba the Musk.
Jabba the Mutts, a.k.a. Putz de Leon, made by Scott and Shorewood. No, I think if he's the first one to go, that'll be bigger than any other politician he's brought in, because he's the most visible and he has done the most with his money. And that war will be amazing. I can see that Time magazine article, that cover.
With both of them facing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm already seeing reports that, he's all over Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And he's really starting to annoy people. So
he got on a phone call with Russia.
Which is perfectly fine, everyone. Nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about.
News is coming up next. When we return, we're talking legal things with Civic Media's Jim Santelle, host of Amicus, a law review every Saturday from 9 to 11. Stay with us. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Good to be here. This is fun.
Well, I really appreciate you doing
absolutely.
this.
I know I was telling Greg on Saturday. I don't know what your experience. I was just at Children's Court this morning. I get down here and even with traffic, 30 minutes. Saturday morning, I can be here in 35 minutes. I don't know what your travel time. Yours is closer, right? But
Yeah.
Jane, I know you're.
Oh yeah, mine is much closer.
Well, and Jim, unfortunately, I have really bad anxiety about freeway driving.
Oh, I'm with you.
And there's no good way for me to get here.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there just isn't. I left this morning at 5:45.
Wow.
Just to avoid as much traffic as possible.
Right. Because it truly, I mean, just right now coming in, it is crazy out there.
People are nuts.
Cutting you off, turning in, just not letting you on.
Yep.
It's just.
Oh, that's why.
Do you need me to present?
No, I got to do it on
your computer.
Yeah, it's for some reason.
Well, we got 5 seconds. He was there a second ago.
I might have to leave and come back. We'll just do the.
Jane says, I'm done with Sergio. You treat me like a rag dog.
Good morning and welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenhoff. Coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that used to be Twitter. Coming up at 11:33, we'll talk all things sports with Journal Sentinel Sports Guru J.R. Radcliffe. And we will wrap up the show as we do every day now with This Shouldn't Be a Thing, the Cindy Lou Who edition. If you ever have a thing which should not be, send it in to Greg and me at janesays@civicmedia.us, JANESAYS, janesays@civicmedia.us. Delighted to have him joining us here in studio. He is the host of Amicus, a law review across Civic Media on Saturdays from 9 until 11. Former U.S. attorney and actual attorney Jim Santelle is here. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Jane, delighted to be with you and Greg once again. Sometimes I wonder if I'm a real attorney, but I think most days at least I play one out there somewhere. Glad to be with you. Delighted, honored.
Appreciate it. You can provide some much needed perspective, I think, with some of the cabinet appointees that are being tossed around by Donald Trump. And we were talking last half hour about Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz. Talk about things that shouldn't be a thing, right? But very seriously.
I had someone suggest that we should do Matt Gaetz should not be a thing for the rest of the week.
Exactly. We talk a lot about speaking these days in hyperbole, and yet that's appropriate, right? It may well be that this nomination, well, let me step back and say, from my perspective, it's not hyperbole to say that this nomination is the worst one in all of Department of Justice history. To the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer for the United States of America. And if things go as Donald Trump wants them to go, we'll see. We'll talk about recess appointments, I suspect. But if things go as he hopes they will go, this man will be in charge of the United States Department of Justice in areas of antitrust, tax, environment, civil rights, national security, all those kinds of things that invade and are part of our lives on a regular basis. He will be in charge of that. This man himself, of course, the subject until very recently, as all of your listeners know, of an FBI investigation, of a Department of Justice investigation, whether he was engaged in human trafficking involving a 17-year-old girl. And the case did not result in an indictment against him, principally because the witness herself was not a compelling witness. Not that this did not happen, but just because the case could not be put together beyond a reasonable doubt for a jury. And we now have Matt Gaetz arguably entering Ninth and Constitution as our Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer. It is beyond words. And I don't know what the future will bring for the department, but I think both people inside and outside the department should be much, much afraid.
Well, and just remember that President Biden was accused of weaponizing the Justice Department. He allowed the Justice Department to prosecute his son.
Absolutely. And has said more recently, Jane, as you and Greg have also talked on this very broadcast, when asked, are you going to pardon? Are you going to exercise the authority that you've got, Mr. President, under the Constitution and pardon your son? And he said no. There was no more explanation. I'm not doing that. We've got a president, again, in cahoots, presumably with an attorney general here, who would not only pardon anybody, will pardon about 1,200 people who assaulted our Capitol, attempted to undermine our elective process here. And again, Matt Gaetz, to go back to your commentary about what Donald Trump promised, Donald Trump promised retribution.
Yes.
This is the face of retribution, and it comes from his own personal experience. He will say, I was a victim. I was a victim of the weaponization of the Department of Justice because this investigation was pursued against me, and now it's payback time. Matt Gaetz is the embodiment of Donald Trump's promise for retribution, and he can do it at the Department of Justice.
You know, something I was thinking about were all those individuals who are in prison, too. Prison reshapes your mind.
Yes.
They're going to be going through some stuff. And regardless of what they have done, if they walk into prison tomorrow just because, not for storming the Capitol, but for some other crime, they're going to come out more emboldened, more with more fervor, more vigor. They're going to have T-shirts and sweatshirts. I mean, they're going to celebrate this. They're going to be seen as heroes. They're going to be called patriots because that's what the president-elect has called them. And something I wanted to bring up, what you both just mentioned, was recess appointments. If I'm not mistaken, Jim, you mentioned that the Supreme Court has said in the past you shouldn't do these.
Right.
But now we're faced with a Supreme Court that's a 6-3 majority in favor of Donald Trump, not the GOP.
Right.
Donald Trump.
And not the Constitution either.
Right, exactly. Decided to amend the Constitution and say, you know what? Turns out that presidents, maybe for 238 years, but at least for the last 6 months, have immunities across the board. You can commit crimes in office, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. That's the Supreme Court that would, again, be very much inclined. You're absolutely right, Greg. Frankly, during the Obama administration, Stephen Breyer wrote an opinion and said, you know what? We don't like this idea of recess appointments. It had to do with whether or not the Senate could gavel in and gavel out to prevent the president from doing that. Prior to that, frankly, the presidents had routinely done this. George W. Bush did it, and Bill Clinton did it. Barack Obama did it. Supreme Court said we don't like this practice. And you know what? Donald Trump didn't do it, and Joe Biden didn't do it because the Supreme Court had said no. Now, Donald Trump has said, recess appointments, Senate, you go away for a couple of weeks, and I'm going to get all these people in place. The way that this works, of course, for the Constitution, it's not indefinite, but it's for the rest of the term of the Congress until the end of the second session of the 119th Congress coming in, which basically means about 2 years. And that's enough time to do a lot of damage in all sorts of agencies, including justice, but also State Department, Labor Department, all of them out there, agriculture, you name them, commerce and so forth. And that's what he's planning to do. But it's a combination that is just nearly unbelievable, but the fact that it is true.
Well, and that just goes to show that it's going to heavily gut those departments, if not shut them down. I mean, see people on Twitter all the time saying, any department with 3 letters gets shut down. I'm like, do you know what any of these departments do? You don't. Of course you don't. In fact, if I said, what does CIA mean? You probably don't know what that acronym is for. But this is just all walking it towards the ultimate goal of Project 2025. I mentioned in the previous hour that we got a lot of pushback from individuals saying you're overreacting, hyperbole. This isn't going to happen. I don't know anything about this. What are you even talking? My friends don't know anything about this. What are you even talking about? It took less than a week for Project 2025 to take hold and to start, and that began with the appointment of these ridiculous human beings with little to no experience to important positions of power that have a global ripple.
Absolutely. This is massive. This would be massive. I just want to reintroduce you. Jim Santelle is our guest. He's a former U.S. attorney and also our colleague here at Civic Media. Catch his show every Saturday from 9 to 11, Amicus, a law review. And if you ever have questions, Jim is a brilliant, brilliant lawyer. So
we'll always bring snacks.
I do bring snacks.
He brings great snacks.
Right.
We're talking about Matt Gaetz being presented as the potential head of the Attorney General.
It's almost difficult to say out loud, isn't it, Shane? Right? It is for me. It is for me. Right? Right.
I am seeing a little bit of pushback this morning from some Republican senators.
Right.
John Conran, Corwin, which I did not expect. He's like, we want this ethics committee report to be released.
Right. Right.
And because Gates resigned from Congress yesterday, that kind of has killed the investigation.
It has, exactly. And please tell me, America, in history, that the incoming president of the United States of America did not appoint or plan to appoint an attorney general to get him out from under an ethics investigation. That's not the reason we're doing this. Please tell me that that's the case. But boy, the timing sure looks like that, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And beyond it, to your good point, both of you making this point, I'm not expecting that everybody understands and appreciates the structure of the Department of Justice. I can recite it because I worked there for 30 years, and it's wonky, and it's kind of down the rabbit hole, and it's the kind of thing that people roll their eyes at when I begin to talk about it. But the reality is there does need to be some appreciation fundamentally for, number one, what a president does. Very concerned about whether or not half the population really appreciates that, right, Greg and Jane?
Yeah.
Secondarily, as we think about Matt Gaetz, what does an attorney general do? How many people in America can talk about that intelligently? I can tell you a lot of what he or she does. I worked for Janet Reno directly. I worked under Eric Holder. And they have tremendous responsibilities for defining who we are in America in all those areas. Again, civil rights, the environment, even things like tax and corporate areas, all kinds of things, national security, and how we investigate cases, the number of agencies. The FBI is an agency inside the Department of Justice, as is the DEA and ATF, all these agencies out there that investigate, all of those supervised and directed by, ultimately, the Attorney General. That's no small power. And I wonder out loud if Americans appreciate the catastrophe that this could be if this man is put in charge of that.
And the potential corruption.
Yes.
The potential corruption is so massive. It's almost hard to wrap your brain around.
Well, and exactly. This is the Attorney General. The president is also going to appoint a deputy attorney general, an associate attorney general, and about 15 different assistant attorneys general. And yes, indeed, my successor, if you removed 92, 93 United States attorneys around the country. Will you find people who are loyalists who will take those positions? Regrettably, you will. They'll take the oath of office to affirm the Constitution.
Right.
But they'll also be asked during the course of their interviews, how loyal are you to the plans that Donald Trump has? If that's okay, we will get your nomination up to the Senate, or maybe not. Maybe we'll do it on recess. But even if we do, we've got a Senate that will now confirm virtually anybody. Maybe this is a bridge too far. Maybe Matt Gaetz is a bridge too far.
Well,
but others probably not.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget that, at least though the word is that the reason that Kevin McCarthy was ousted as Speaker is because he knew this ethics investigation was going on into Gaetz and he wouldn't stop it.
Yes, right.
And therefore, Gaetz retaliated and got rid of Kevin McCarthy.
Talk about retribution, right?
Exactly.
There's the R word once again, Jane.
Exactly. We're going to break. We'll be right back. We are talking with Jim Santelle, host of Amicus, a law review. Stay close. You are listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calviente coming to you from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Job of the Musk continues to actively ruin. Excited to be joined by our guest. He is the host of Amicus, a law review, Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 across Civic Media. Jim Santelle is here, former U.S. attorney and still a practicing attorney. We were talking about Matt Gaetz, former congressman now from Florida.
As of 48 hours ago, or maybe even 20 hours ago, who knows,
Yeah.
right?
If he doesn't get the job, by the way, he just is out of a job.
He
right?
is, right? You resign. You don't get to go back again.
After
that's
you
right,
resign.
Right. That's the way it works.
But I've seen it floated that if this doesn't work out, then he's going to run for Florida governor.
Gross.
Because DeSantis can't do it again.
Yeah.
So there's
live for another day.
Yeah,
live for another day.
There's still
right?
hope for him. We did have a couple comments that I just wanted to share. John from Oshkosh texting in. I heard the Gaetz pick may be just a litmus test to force loyalty in the Senate and root out the few who might still have a spine.
It is such a dramatically bad pick that I think your caller is onto something. Donald Trump sending this out there, seeing how it flies.
Yes.
And again, he's got to know. He had to have known that it's going to get pushed back from many quarters. But the question, Jane, as you just said, your listeners suggesting, how strong are those quarters? Where are they located? Do they have the numbers behind them?
Right.
This very well could be exactly the kind of test that Donald Trump is thinking about. He has got, for what it's worth, not to scare you and everybody else, he's got about 4,000 appointments to make here in the next, well, he may not get them all done by January 20th, but he's got a lot to do here. That's a lot of people. And depending upon what happens to Matt Gaetz in the public domain and even on Capitol Hill, that could dictate for Donald Trump exactly how far he thinks he can go. Maybe if this doesn't work, maybe he pulls back just a little bit. So that litmus test concept, I think, has got some legs.
But this is what authoritarians do. They want to see how far they can push it, and I think how far they can get people to turn on their own ethics and morals in service of the authoritarian.
Right, absolutely. As I hear you speak, I think again about a fellow named Elliot Richardson, right, who was a former attorney general in the Richard Nixon administration, Saturday Night Massacre, when Richard Nixon said to him, you need to fire that special counsel. This is a man, again, a Republican, a conservative Republican for that time. Today we'd probably consider him a liberal, but nonetheless, right. But Elliot Richards said, no, Mr. President, I am not going to do that. My oath, my morals, my ethics require me to say no to the President of the United States of America, and I know I've got to resign. And he did. And then his deputy attorney general did the same thing.
Yep.
The same thing.
They took a stand.
Exactly. They took a stand. Ultimately, for what it's worth, the historical piece on this, which people forget, is finally the Associate Attorney General did fire Archibald Cox. His name, right?
Robert Bork.
Robert Bork, right? Who went on to not the Supreme Court, right? But again, interesting times. But your point is the all-important one, which is we call upon people to take that oath of office. It means something. It's not just this is the way you get the keys to the office and the supply room. This means something, and you need to live up to it every single day, especially in these kinds of positions.
They swear an oath to the Constitution, not to a man.
Exactly.
Or woman.
And that's what we heard.
For that matter.
That's what we heard from all of our friends from National Security Leaders for America, is that at the end of the day, they're protecting that. And that's actually what kept me sleeping safe at night, but now we'll see.
Tom from LA has been very patient. Good morning, Tom. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for your patience. What did you want to say?
Yeah, good morning, Jane. Jim, I have a question.
Yes.
How do we continue in the media to report on this, all these different shocks to the system, without normalizing it and without, just like as an example, I think the other person wrote something, but like George War criminal Bush putting his secretary up for the SCOTUS, and we end up with Roberts or Alito. I mean, what do we, you keep hearing all these different things, and we're going to continue to hear the most crazy things ever. So then if he backs up just a little bit, it like normalizes it for some reason. How do we, as a country, not fall into this trap of normalizing this stuff?
Appreciate the question, Tom. Thank you for that. We got about 2 minutes, Jim.
Well stated, well articulated, Tom, and that is the commission we now have, right? We wake up and we say, well, even Donald Trump's language, right? We're used to that. That's just Donald Trump. That's just his latest attack on. Then you fill in the blank of the group or the person. That is the normalization process. I would say two things. One is education about why these things are important, and they're not just throwaways, not just to normalize, so that people understand things like this have meaning. And secondarily, you can't give up. You cannot say, well, all right, that is exactly. Mm-hmm. I can't just go back to sleep. And even though they are subject to the hyperbolic language that I'm using today, there's hyperbole for a reason. And you continue to shout this from the sky tops of the mountaintops because people need to hear it. Those two things, education and continuing to be protesting and advocating for the right thing.
And bringing you the facts.
And bringing the facts, right? And asking people to rely upon them in using their critical thinking skills. Remember those?
I do.
Right. And to come to
such
some
a
good
liberal
conclusion.
point of view.
Right? Exactly. Who are you? Right.
Jim
right.
Santelle is the host of Amicus, a law review every Saturday from 9 to 11 across the Civic Media Radio Network. I highly, highly encourage you to check him out. Jim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Shane, Greg, always a great pleasure to be with you. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. News is coming up next. When we come back, we're talking sports with J.R. Radcliffe. We'll wrap it up with This Shouldn't Be a Thing, Cindy Lou Who edition. Keep it right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Anybody else would surely know. He's watching her go. But a fool believes. 'cause I been waiting all night. It's game time.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calviente on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We're going to wrap up the show in about 15 minutes with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Cindy Lou Who edition. So stick around for that. Right now, though, he joins us every other Thursday at this time to talk all things sports. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel sports guru, J.R. Radcliffe. Good morning, J.R.
Good morning, everybody. How are you people today?
We are good. Hey, the Bucks are winning.
Yeah, yes. That has not always been the case this season. They are now 4-8, but they had a tremendous, tremendous individual performance from Giannis Antetokounmpo last night. He scored 59 points. That's the second most points in a game in Bucks history. He, of course, well, I don't know about of course, but last year he set the record with 64 in a game I think a lot of people remember for a fight over the game ball against the Indiana Pacers last December. It was very exciting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very exciting. This, not quite that level of drama. The Pistons did have a player who was ejected for a flagrant 2 foul, dragging Giannis to the floor as he went up for a rebound. So there was a little bit of dramatics, I guess. Bucks had to go to overtime. It required a Detroit player missing 2 free throws with 1 second left on a very questionable foul call. 19-year-old kid who missed the 2 free throws allowed for there to be an overtime, and the Bucks took it from there. So they ended up winning kind of handily, but it was tenuous. The whole thing has been tenuous, but Giannis was tremendous. 14 rebounds, contributed across the stat sheet. It was just singularly unbelievable last night on a night when they did not have Damian Lillard, who's battling a concussion. Chris Middleton has still not played this year. Bobby Portis was out last night. So it was a very tough night. And the Bucks now have won 2 consecutive games, which again is the first time they've done that this year. So, things are, I don't know if you could call it turning a corner, but at least a little bit in the right direction.
What are they, 4-8 now?
Yeah, 4-8. All 4 wins have come against teams that are not, Philadelphia, who's doing really poorly, worse than the Bucks this year, and 3 teams that I don't think anybody is considering in the top shelf. So they got to do it against good teams. They have had a tough schedule. They've kind of had everything go wrong at this point in the year where they're playing, 2 of their losses are to the Cavs, who are undefeated, 2 are to the Celtics, who are the next best team in the East, 10-3. So, they've faced some pretty tough competition. They really need to start making some hay. They need guys to get healthy. Like if they don't get healthy and they don't get on a roll here, there's never going to be a point this season where they're on a roll. So this is a pretty concerning corridor of the schedule. They have to make some, they have to turn some of these games into wins.
That's what I was going to say, though, JR. It just seems like somebody is hurt all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody is getting hurt all the time.
And it's always Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
Well, this is the nature of a team built on a quote unquote big 3. Giannis is going to turn 30 this year. He's by far the youngest of these guys. Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton are getting up there. They're going to have injuries. Brook Lopez is another one on this team who had a tremendous night last night, but he's been very healthy. And Chris Middleton, prior to the last 3 years, had been completely healthy in his career. And it just, something has happened, has flipped. It's a snowball effect. And one injury leads to another injury, and he played through it last year in the playoffs and was really good. Chris Middleton was the only healthy one of the 3 last year. Healthy in quotes, but he was really effective. And then he had to have surgery on both ankles this offseason, and it's just not progressing the way people would want. It's not like, we'll check back in with Chris in 2 weeks. It's, maybe he'll be available the next game, maybe the next game, maybe the next game. Is just never happening. And I think everybody feels like there's going to be, when he's back, the Bucks will be the best version of themselves. That's obviously going to take a little bit of time. I don't think it's something that they just flip a switch on. So I don't know when they're going to be, like, Christmas. Is that when we think the Bucks will be at full strength and really feeling it? It's been a really confusing and a really tough season so far.
Well, and those ankle injuries are not easy to come back from what I understand.
Right. Especially if you are a NBA, small forward shooting guard where you're cutting, you're breaking. It's so reliant on you being quick. And Middleton, he's not like a defensive savant by any means, but he will add something to their defense that they haven't had. That also requires you to have to be pretty nimble on your feet. So they need him to back, but more than that, they need him full strength, or this isn't going to go anywhere. This is going to be just a massive, massive disappointment.
If they're even projecting a Christmas turnaround, that means that for the rest of the season, which is 4 months, they're going to have to win everything. Like they're going to have to win 90% of their games. And that is, I don't know if that's feasible by what we're seeing right now. And I know people say Chris Middleton's not playing, but is Chris Middleton so gosh darn amazing that once he's back in the fray, all cylinders will be firing? Or is it just, this is not going to be a stellar season for the Bucks?
Yeah. I mean, I've said this a few times. I think you could argue Chris Middleton is the difference between a championship team and just a good team. He shouldn't be the difference between winning games and losing them. You know, they're too talented. So some of this is not just on him, for sure. The guys that they brought in have had really slow starts. A couple in particular, you know, Gary Trent Jr. finally hit some shots last night, but he has really struggled beyond what anyone could have imagined. And DeLon Wright has gotten benched. These are two of the three guys that they brought in on the fringes. I think there's still questions about Bobby Portis, if he fits and how this whole operation is going. You know, Damian Lillard has been really good offensively, but he's still not great defensively. He's gotten better and he's trying. It's not for lack of effort. It's just that is who he is. And if you've got that weak link on the floor, you better have four pretty good links around him. And they have not had that at all times either. So there are things on the fringes that are really keeping this team. And, you know, Doc Rivers, he gets a lot of criticism too. And I don't know if he can be completely absolved from it. He's got a roster with two superstars that are healthy and, you know, healthy again in quotes, and then another one waiting in the wings and several other very good players, and they're not winning games. And they've previously, even last year when everyone knew it wasn't working with Adrian Griffin, they started 31-13. Like they were kicking tail. They were still winning, even if it wasn't championship caliber winning. That's why they moved on. At some point, they have to start winning. They don't have to win 90% of their games if Chris Middleton isn't back until Christmas. They could be a 5 seed, a 4 seed, and make some serious noise in the playoffs. That is still possible. But you know, again, if he's not going to be back, you know, we don't know when he's going to be back. But if it's going to be that much later into the season, you know, when do you hit your full stride? January, February, the All-Star break, and is that enough time? Because I don't know if I think it is. I feel like this team is going to be an under-realized version of themselves until they can figure some timeline out with Chris Middleton.
If you're just joining us, J.R. Radcliffe is here from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel to talk all things sports. You were going to the football game on Sunday.
I am. I'm taking my son. He has never been to a Packers game.
How exciting.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking him to Chicago for the first one, which is a little weird. Got a long walk ahead of him. Yeah, sitting in the very back, top row at Soldier Field. I don't know if it's quite the very back, but it's up there. But it'll be okay. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I have he's never been to a Bucks game either. Been to plenty of Brewers games, but this is a first. So we're going to check it out. Hopefully it's not something you really have to sweat. You can just experience it for yourself because the Packers are much better than the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears fired their offensive coordinator earlier this week. Caleb Williams has really struggled. They've lost 3 straight, including against New England, which is not a good team, although better than I guess people thought. But that was a bad loss on Sunday. They've hit that point of the season where that early optimism has been flushed out of the Chicago Bears system. They're like, oh, we've got the future at quarterback. He's going to be so great. We're past that now, and we're back into reality. The Green Bay Packers have won 10 consecutive games against the Bears. It should absolutely be 11, and if it's not, it's going to be a big problem.
So that's something that I brought up earlier in the week on Civic Media Mornings with Todd Alba. Every single season, something I think this is now like standard issue. The Bears get a new quarterback every single season, it feels like, and every single season, the Bears fans treat it like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. The arm is made of gold. The target is on straight, and they're like, y'all are going to eat our dust. Packers are nothing. NFC is this is our division. We're going all the way. And then slowly over time, every year, like they've forgotten the previous 40 years, they're like, oh, we really suck. And all I'm asking is, come at it with some humility. Be like, you don't have to say we're going to suck, and you don't have to say we're going to dominate. You can be like, let's wait and see.
We got a chance.
We have a chance. Who knows? We'll see. I like our chances, but let's be realistic. But every year it's always like, you guys don't understand. We might as well just get the ring right now. We haven't played. We don't need to play games right now. You see that kid? He's amazing.
I'm feeling some hostility.
Well, it's just, I mean, honestly, you know me. I don't care that much about football, but I feel bad for my Bears fans, friends, because they are just so cocky about it. And then within 3 weeks, it's just, this team sucks. They make the worst decisions. Fire the coach and his father. I'm like, you put yourself through this, bro. You put yourself through this.
I think it's getting to be kind of remarkable, the streak they've been on with Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, and now Caleb Williams, who I still think, by the way, will be a very good player. It's just they've drafted these quarterbacks so high and they just haven't been able to hit on any of them while watching other franchises kind of finding their guys. There's some systematic stuff. There's some ownership stuff. All of that plays into it. I do think Caleb Williams is going to be very good. And I actually think coming into the year, there was reason to be concerned. They brought in a lot of great receiver help, some veterans. They drafted another receiver, Roma Dunze, very high. And it kind of felt like, they would take a big step forward offensively. It has not happened. Their offensive line is still trash. It's been that way for a while. It's getting Caleb Williams sacked at a much higher level than you would prefer your number one draft pick to be sacked. I mean, there are examples out there of guys who were top quarterback taken, number one in the draft, and they got sacked so much in the early part of their career that it derailed their career. David Carr and Tim Couch come to mind. So they have to fix that. They have to find a way to keep their guys safe, or it's all going to fall apart very quickly.
Tell me that Aaron Rodgers is still sucking. That would make me really happy.
He is still sucking. It's been very bad for the New York Jets. It's been tremendously terrible. It's a real shame. Wow.
It's a real shame.
You hate to see it. Yeah, the NFL
Aaron couldn't have happened to a better guy.
It's shaking out pretty good for the Packers. They're 6-3, coming off a bye. They're not the best team in the NFC. That's the Detroit Lions. They'll have to worry about that in the regular season again and then in the postseason. But the Bears are still bad. Teams like the 49ers have taken a step back. The Cowboys are trash. The Jets are bad.
The Cowboys are so trash now.
They're in a really bad spot. Mike McCarthy's going to be done, and Dak Prescott's out for the year. So that's really, really tough. The nemesis are definitely not having a good time right now. Yeah. The Vikings are the Vikings are still ahead of the Packers at this point. So we'll see how that goes. But this has been a good year for the Packers, but they do need to flip a switch. They haven't been the best version yet. So they have to find a way to be a little bit better than the second half of the season.
But let's also, keep real the real. It's this. This is the quarterback's second year. It's still an incredibly young team. They're still getting to know each other. And it's great if it happens immediately, but it doesn't. So maybe like next season or the season, that's when you see them making it further. And because you just see all that talent coming together and gelling. I think that's the most important thing to think about. They're playing this well on a team that young. I think that spells great things for the future.
Yeah, and they are the youngest team in the league again. I would say that last year was supposed to be that. Like, come together, figure it out, work through the growing pains. You'll take whatever they get. They took you to the second round of the playoffs. So this year was supposed to be a step forward. You only get so many years with these guys. 4 years and you could be a free agent. Right at the beginning of your career. So you do need to hit when guys are kind of young, and maybe not this young. You still, like you said, you have to allow for growing pains, but it isn't like you have, 5 years or anything like that for guys to come together. It's got to be pretty much now. And after last year, I think you're left with the feeling this team is going to be really, really, really special. And I don't know if we've seen that yet, but they've won a couple of nail biters. They've been able to get themselves in pretty good position. They should still go to the playoffs, and they should definitely still be the Chicago Bears.
We only have about a minute left, JR. Badgers, how badly are they going to get smoked this weekend?
They're only 2-touchdown underdog, which is surprising to me. They play the number one team in the country, first time since 2010 that the Badgers have played the number one team in the country. Oregon, I don't expect them to win. I don't know if anyone does, but I wrote about a 1981 game a while back about when the Badgers beat number one Michigan, and Michigan had clobbered the Badgers. I think it was like 176-0 over the previous, 3 to 4 games. And then Bucky won 21-14. So strange things happen that would completely reshape the whole season if they're able to beat Oregon. Again, I don't see it happening, but coming off a bye, you never know. Things get weird. It would be a really nice time for things to get weird in Madison, Wisconsin.
You can read more from J.R. Radcliffe at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. He joins us every other Thursday. Thank you so much, J.R. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yep, it'll be Thanksgiving in a couple weeks, but I'll see you at some point thereafter.
Oh, yes.
Sounds great. That's right. All right. Stay with us. We're going to wrap things up with This Shouldn't Be a Thing, Cindy Lou Who edition. Keep it right here, Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
All-star, watch me do it all day. Step back, hit him with the shake. Crossover going hard in the bank. Hit that, money in the bank. All-star going hard. It's about to go down in a minute. Let me touch down. I'ma get it. Cause I been waiting all night to make it go from the friend zone to the end zone. Trying to take it to the house, baby, let's go.
Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and the Board Lord. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We have news coming up at noon, followed by Todd Alba from noon to 2 p.m. Join Maggie Dawn from 2 to 4. Tom Salvia, 4 to 6 p.m. And then Pete Schwaba with Nightlight from 6 to 8 tonight. So keep it here all day on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 11:52. That means, Calvin, it is time for...
This shouldn't be a thing.
If you ever have a thing you think should not be, send it in to Greg and me at janesays@civicmedia.us, JANESAYS. Jane says at civicmedia.us. You can also tag us on Twitter or Blue Sky. Listener Early Winter found me on Blue Sky and left us with this little gem from today. Or
Awesome.
today.
Awesome.
Here's the headline from the Daily Mail. People are asking Turkish cosmetic surgeons to give them Whoville nose jobs. That is a doctor very worried. A Turkish plastic surgeon is giving patients extreme nose jobs that makes them look like a character from Whoville.
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss's Whoville.
Well, there's a little bit of context to this as far as not justifying what they're doing. And I don't know, Calvin, as a resident young person and social media imbiber, as I am, there are the look is for women to have that contoured nose that kind of points up a little bit with a little bit of white on the end, so they constantly look like they're shiny. And they'll put little freckles on their face and whatnot. It's really weird because they're just trying to look like little girls, which
That's
is odd.
weird.
That's very weird.
That's
Calvin,
weird.
am I wrong? Am I wrong there?
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's very weird. Yeah.
Before and after videos on social media show patients' noses dramatically reduced in size and finished with that upturned tip. Just Google Cindy Lou Who from the Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah, she was adorable.
She was adorable.
Because she's a little girl.
And she's a fictional character. Hate to be the one to break that to you.
But Jane, I want to look like a little girl.
The surgeon behind this trend is Dr. Ferda Earl, who's based in Izmir, Turkey. Dr. Earl appears to be happy with the outcomes, but a different plastic surgeon, Dr. Anthony Youn, who's based in the U.S., is concerned. He said, I just don't get it. I can feel that. Dr. Youn says the women are already beautiful, and in one instance, she may have had a little bump on the bridge of her nose, but she only needed small tweaks. I think overall her nose looked great. If she had come to me for a nose job, I'd probably shave it down a little, and that would take care of it. But she wanted the little upturned nose, Cindy Lou Who thing.
Like an elf shoe.
Yes. Like an elf shoe.
It's so, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, live your life, do your thing, be who you want to be, Jelly Bean. But I just don't understand it. I never will understand it. You should just love just love who you are.
Well, and the other thing that I find disturbing in this article, and we will put this in the show notes, there are ideal male and female nasal angles. Did you know that?
What does that mean?
The ideal male nasal angle is about 90 degrees. The guy
Also,
he's
nasal
looking,
angle is hard to say.
The guy right after his surgery is about 120 degrees. There are who knew there were nasal angles?
Folks on the live stream, take a look at me right now. Do I have a good nasal angle? Is it nice? I'm sure the haters will hate and tell me no, that I'm terrible, but that's fine. I just want to know, is my nasal angle good? I feel like it's fine. Jane, let me look at your nasal angle. Hey, profile. That's a nice nasal angle.
You like
it's understated yet intelligent.
The angle between the nose and the upper lip is called the nasolabial angle. In women,
Can we say that on the radio?
In women, a perfectly shaped nose is between 95 and 105 degrees. But a lot of patients who were having this Whoville surgery, they ended up at like 123 degrees. Again, yeah, it's kind of like a little piglet thing.
Hey, what do I have up there? It looked like a little piglet.
Well, if that's your thing, I guess that's your thing.
But it's definitely a thing that should not be.
Absolutely. That wraps up today's edition of
This Shouldn't Be a Thing.
Coming up tomorrow, our colleague here at Civic Media, Melissa Kay, will be joining us. I'm really looking forward to talking to her. She's got a new show. She's got a new show that has just recently debuted. Dan Schaefer will be here from the recombobulation area at 11:06, and we will update you on all the news tomorrow.
You're thinking about your nasal angle right now.
I was. I'm obsessed now with my nasal angle. Thank you, Greg and Calvin and all of our engineers and everyone across Civic Media. Without you guys, absolutely nothing works. And thank you most of all for calling and for texting and for listening. It absolutely means the world. I hope you find some joy today, even just a little bit, and you have the chance to share it. News is next. Keep it right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll see you tomorrow.